There are many mysteries that people here on the internet would like to see a solution to. The Black Dahlia murder, who the Zodiac Killer was, who Jack the Ripper was, and so forth. People find themselves fascinated with trying to figure out exactly what it is that caused these crimes to happen, and want to come to some sort of conclusion so that maybe some justice in their own mind can happen. Today, I have my own conundrum to solve. I have my own mystery. And I think that I can bring closure to things with an explanation of what's going on. But the mystery stems from one question. Why the hell is Gundam Seed so obsessed with cuckoldry? Look, I've had a hell of a time covering Gundam Seed and its stories. I covered Gundam Seed and how it sucked. I covered Seed Destiny and how it sucked. And then I covered Seed Freedom and how it sucked, but at least was funny. Sort of how The Room is funny.
You're scaring me.
You are lying. I never hit you. You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
I especially went in on the Gary Stu and Mary Sue main characters of Kira Yamato and Lacus Klein, going into detail on why exactly the writing that surrounds them is so bad. Heck, if I remember right, I even pointed out that the whole Ultimate Coordinator thing was basically an ass-pull where they tried to excuse away the fact that Kira was perfect at everything. Then, of course, came the weird backlash. Gundam Seed fans went out of their way to wish death on me. I think there were a couple of death threats, and a lot of Twitter bio pronouns in the people who are making the statements, to the surprise of no one. There are even people who have tried to gaslight me into thinking that being a Mary Sue or Gary Stu character is not bad writing. Well, what's your frame of reference on good writing, pal? The Star Wars sequel trilogy? Come on now. The funniest are the ones that have the whitest names and music tastes, that try to convince me that they were born and raised in Japan. Yeah, Melvin, who listens to Maroon 5 and Bruno Mars, is from Tokyo? Shut up, Melvin. I call it weeaboo blackface, and it is a really weird thing that you see in the Seed fandom. Because they like to say Seed was popular in Japan, so Japan must have superior taste. I happen to like Gundam Seed, so I guess that makes me spiritually Japanese. I guess that's the logic, but it's 7 shades of retarded. Shut up, Melvin. The funny thing to me is that Seed is so bad as a series that there's actually layers to it. It's sort of like digging through a garbage dump. There's just stacks upon stacks of trash that honestly kind of surprise you the more you dig. Because you keep finding new things, but it all stinks, and you're going to need a shower afterwards. The one thing I wanted to talk about today was the series' weird fascination with cuckolding. If you're wondering what I'm waffling about, I imagine you're in plentiful company. NTR, which is short for Netorare, is a fetish that is centered around cheating on your significant other. It's one of those weird fascinations in the world of sex, where someone's trying to get their hands on a forbidden fruit because somebody else is already committed to someone. Now, unlike iDubbbz, I'm more than happy to sit here and tell you that it's fucking disgusting and nobody should ever do it, and if you want to do it, you're a morally terrible human being. If you're the type of person that fetishes cheating on a significant other, you need to be punched in the face repeatedly until your brains leak out your ear. Anyway, back to Gundam Seed. There are so many instances of the writers going straight to NTR for cheap drama that it's downright hilarious, and if I forget any, well, Shirt Dude will probably give a few more examples at a certain point. From the very beginning of the show, the most infamous one is Kira to Cy Argyle, banging Flay Alistair like a fucking snare drum. And by the way, any normal human being doing this would be considered morally deplorable. However, this is Gundam Seed, and because this is Gundam Seed, Kira actually chews out his friend for being upset, which is, by the way, a logical reaction to someone stealing your girl. And then Kira gets no repercussions for being such a fucking scumbag. Then again, if there is one constant thing within Seed, it's that Kira is always right even when he's wrong. Because morality in Seed is not based on what most normal people would think, but rather how the universe has to bend, so that Kira Yamato never has to go through any substantial struggle and is always right about everything. Gary Stu and all that. By the way, Kira does it again. He quite literally steals Lacus Klein from under his best friend's nose, and it never gets brought up. Just at one point in the story, you might as well just say that these two are a couple now, and let's forget that this is the second time that the writing team is gifting Kira a free snatch. So within one story, the character that's supposed to be the paragon of righteousness and goodness within this series has yanked and plowed the girlfriends of two of his closest friends. If this happened in reality, somebody would have walked up to him with a 12 gauge and blown his brains out. Then we move on to Gundam Seed Destiny, and there's really only one instance of this. This might be why I found the sequel series a little bit more tolerable than the original, though not by much. The major one is that the solution to supposedly solving problems within Orb, the problem of aligning yourself with Lipstick Hitler, is for Kigali to put Athrun right back into the corner chair of the hotel room just like her brother. Yeah, she just becomes a doormat and is about to get into an arranged marriage with a dude that I have affectionately titled Date Rape Garma, because fucking look at the guy, as if this was going to make any situation better at any point ever. Just lie back and think of Orb, I guess. But anyway, I think the most egregious one outside of the original series is in the movie Seed Freedom. In fact, NTR is quite literally central to the plot. Kira finally gets a taste of his own medicine, with the supposedly faithful Lacus falling for the Great White Hope, whose name I don't remember because he sucks, and his merry band of obvious villains. Again, Bane Mask.
Of course.
But at a certain point, she just randomly decides to gain a conscience, quite literally randomly, mind you, and then suddenly realizes what she is doing is wrong. There's no actual revelation for it, it just happens, because this is Gundam Seed, and contrivance is the name of the game. But just a simple fact that one of the key factors of a Mobile Suit Gundam anime, in fact, the movie that supposedly Gundam fans had been waiting for, let's not insult all of us here, come on now, Bandai, is gonna be NTR, is so wild to me. Wild in the way that it's kind of an insult to the legacy of the series. When you look at the interpersonal drama and interesting character arcs within the original series, Zeta Gundam, Double Zeta, and even alternate universes like G Gundam, Gundam Wing, and Gundam X, those series tend to take themselves pretty seriously. Even G Gundam, which has a Gundam that's a fucking bull, having an over-reliance on cuckoldry to try and create character drama is just really weird. The only series that I can think of that's more reliant on the drama of being cheated on is fucking Gilmore Girls. And to be honest, that's about where Seed's writing level is at. The real question is, why? Why on earth is it that this is something that you see as often as you do within Gundam Seed? I have a few theories, so we're going to go through them one by one. The first explanation that I have follows Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is almost always the most likely, and in this case, the most sensible. The fact of the matter is that cheating on a significant other is an easy way to create drama. However, when you do it so often, it just becomes lazy, especially if you don't execute it properly. Had there been more of a consequence on the Archangel for Kira behaving in such a way, if it had lasting consequences, and things of that nature, it could have been an interesting point of contention for the crew. Thing is, that's not how it gets executed. In fact, the whole thing with Kira and Flay just kind of gets glossed over. Like I mentioned earlier, there's never repercussions. It's almost as if NTR was treated like a righteous action, which is disgusting on so many moral levels. My second theory is rooted in the idea that this might have been something that Mitsuo Fukuda was coming up with. Look, as a creator, this dude has a reputation for being a fucking perv. There's even rumors that he had certain favorites when it came to the voice acting cast, simply because he thought they were good looking. Yeah, this dude is, like, super gooner by reputation. There's also stories that center around the drama behind Gundam Seed Destiny, and some of the stories that I've read give me the impression that Fukuda's the kind of guy that can't keep it in his fucking pants. And then I don't really think that we need much proof beyond the fact that Cross-Ange exists, and basically a good chunk of that is just lesbian softcore porn. Thing is, he's not the writer. His wife, Chiaki Murasawa, supposedly wasn't a big fan of some of the backstage hijinks that happened during the production of the Seed shows. On top of that, NTR is much more popular with women than it is men. So that brings about the real question. Was Chiaki Murasawa getting plowed by someone else? Was she putting Fukuda and his talentless ass in the corner chair on a nightly basis? Did she get tired of the 2-inch punch and decide to get an upgrade in size? Probably not, but it's funny to make jokes about because Mitsuo Fukuda is a fucking hack. In all seriousness, the over-reliance on this garbage way of getting your jollies off is just another example of how the writing is just fucking terrible in the series. The character drama is never really done properly, so the cheating comes across as just a cheap way to get a cheap reaction, as opposed to it ever being something meaningful to the overall plot. And then again, given the sizable amount of degenerates that are Gundam Seed fans, I can't say I'm surprised that they enjoy this sort of thing. Well, hopefully they've enjoyed the view from the corner chair while I fucked their favorite show again. It's just another good reason as to why you shouldn't watch Gundam Seed ever. And if you're the type of person that takes Fukuda seriously as a creator, you're retarded. With all that said, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoy videos like this, don't forget like, share, subscribe, the whole 9 yards. Because, Lord knows, I love me some Seed slander, and I'm just going to say this right now to all the Seed fans that are leaving negative comments. I'm not stopping! Also, don't forget to head over to the merch store down in the description to snag yourself a couple of shirts, especially my favorite of the two, which is the rather cursed Bernard's Burgers. If you know, you know. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. I already said that, but I'll say it again. Appreciate all you guys for watching. Consider becoming a member, and I will see you guys next time.